Hey guys, as promised, I'm back for my next section of the lovely Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot hashtag, and today I'll be doing another week, so day 8 to day 14, and as usual I will try and be prompt. First day is top 5 decks on your wish list. Now, because I recently shared a VR, I think it was by Fable's Den, where I shared my wish list, I thought I would go for something different. There are actually some incredible decks on my wish list that are either out of print or right now, especially for 2018, I know due to financial reasons that I'm just not going to be able to afford them. So I thought I might as well just go ahead and enjoy myself, and instead of being repetitive, I'm going to go all out and tell you some of my other top 5, which I think are freaking amazing. So, in no particular order, I've got the Lioness Oracle Tarot. It's really interesting because I saw this tarot deck, I would imagine a good 6 months ago. For those of you that don't know, it's a very beautiful oracle-sized tarot deck that's done in a collage. It's very vibrant, and when I first saw it, whilst being really stunned by the art, and it's got a lot of cats in it, people, which is a yay from me. I didn't think that it would have any readability for me, and to be fair, maybe I was right at the time. Then I had this whole on and off thing with the Star Child, and all of a sudden the Lioness Oracle Tarot popped back into my awareness, and a really good friend of mine has got it, so we spoke about it a lot, and the excitement is real, guys. That deck is gorgeous, so that's on my wish list. The next deck on my wish list is Invisible Light Tarot, and that one just absolutely moves me so much when I see it. It's a photography deck, and again it's a larger one, which usually I prefer smaller decks because of my tiny hands, but in this instance I would completely be happy with that. It's actually my 30th this year, and it's maybe one of the only times where I could ask for a deck that to get over to the UK would be really expensive, more for taxes than anything else. But I'm not actually sure that she's going to carry on printing it for that far into this year. It is just a stunning deck. I really feel like the photography evokes so much emotion. It does feel really visceral. And then I heard Kay Chris of YouTube speaking about it, and it is, I believe, one of her absolute favourite decks. And she spoke about it with such a powerful connection and in a poetic way that I was even more hooked. The next deck is, and this is a Mega Pine, and because you are probably bored, I have another deck that I can show you. Most of you guys will know that I have the medicine cards, and I've had these since I was a kid. I grew up using them, probably my mum's ones originally, and then obviously I was bought my own eventually. I would definitely consider these a soul deck. And again, sorry if I'm boring you, most of you know this. There's actually a miniature edition of this, and I believe that it's called Medicine Cards Just for Today. They are incredibly out of print. They're about half the size from what I can tell. It's still got the same picture on it, and then underneath the picture it's got a little message, the essence of the animal's message, which I think may be the poetic bit taken out of the large book. I'd absolutely love that deck. I think that I've been crushing on it probably since my teens. I cannot understand why they haven't reprinted it. And it would be amazing for when I go on my forest walks and things like that, because obviously it's smaller and it will fit in my little hands and my pocket. As I'm probably becoming a bit of a renowned animal deck addict, and again, most of you guys know that I work with animal messages on the daily, even without my decks. It's, I guess, my version of working with deity, or, you know, whatever it is that other people do. I work with animal messages, and I figured you know, if I'm an animal deck addict, I might as well go hard or go home. The next deck on my list is Animal Kin Oracle. Yes please. It's so colourful, gorgeous, and just so good. I appreciate that there is not really much else I can say about that, and my verbal skills are starting to lack due to excitement. But one of the things that I did see on that deck which got me super excited is the lizard card is actually a leopard gecko. Now, for those who don't already know, I have 5 leopard gecko babies. They are my cold-blooded babies, and I was super psyched to see a leopard gecko in a deck because of all the lizards that have ever been depicted. That's the first time I've personally seen one. It brings me so much joy. I would love to get that deck. And last but certainly not least, as a crazy cat lady, which is no secret, I love... I think it's by Ghost Kittens, and it's called Spirit Cat Oracle. And again, it's another diddy little colourful, I can't quite work out if it's watercolour, but I shit you not, I need that deck. I know we don't need anything, but hell, that crazy cat lady in me is really enjoying that one. It is a wonderful looking little deck. Question 9 is my tarot goals for 2018. I really should pay more attention to what I'm doing because I actually incorporated this discussion into my December favourites because I don't plan ahead, you see. That way I'll keep it short and sweet again so I don't repeat myself. I want to obviously continue my progression and understanding of tarot, but I feel like I want to go into more specific areas of interest to myself, and I want to do an exploration of the links and relationship with therapeutic theories and psychology to tarot. That's something that really interests me. I have a book on my wish list at the moment that explores Jung's archetypes, and that's where I think that I'll start. But that's one of my main things. Also, linking off from that, I want to further my experience and understanding of doing shadow work and healing work with the tarot. That is my main focus, and I feel like that's enough. We'll see how well I do with all of that at the end of the year. I naturally would like to grow my own clientele, etc., but most of you guys know that it's not my business, and as my main business is starting up this year, it will probably be hard to promote myself when I get busier, but we'll see. Question 10. Tarot decks you want to work with more in 2018. For this, I've either gone with ones that I got towards the end of the year because they didn't get much time with me. Yeah, I think that's the reason for all of them actually, aside from this one. I'll start with the Wooden Tarot. I did get this more in the middle of the year, and this has been a continued studied deck for me. I absolutely love it. I'm actually writing my own guidebook for it, just for personal use. And as it got towards the end of the year with the chaos, I kind of let that slip, and this is one that I am really psyched to work with again. I love nature decks and animal decks. This is a massive yes from me. Next deck is the Wildwood Tarot, and I got this right towards the end of the year. Had a really strong and powerful experience with it, and to be honest with you, I just want to continue that. I'd also like to get the new book that they brought out. I know that everyone said that it wasn't a workbook, but actually the reason that I want it is because I wanted to read more about their interpretations of the cards, because I just have enjoyed it so much. It has been so powerful. I feel like I'd enjoy that. That's definitely one that's going in the to use pile. Next we've got Raven's Prophecy Tarot, which I had a really... oh, and of course it's all upside down. I had a really strong visceral experience with this deck, and despite using it quite a lot towards the end of the year, because that's when I got it, I would really like to continue developing my bond with this deck. I work with most of my decks, to be honest, because I've got quite a small collection, I guess, smallish. But this one is definitely going to be one that's going to be left out and used more on the regular. Next we've got the epic Tarot del Fuego. I've been crushing on this deck for ages. This is the one that I crossed off my wish list this year, and it was a Christmas present. Naturally, I want to spend lots of time with this deck. I'm also finding it's just giving the most powerful, I say hilarious because the artwork amuses me, but there's no lack of meaning or depth to it. But I definitely want to work with this one a lot. Also because it's not one that I see loads of people working with, and that in itself excites me quite a bit. This is the Animism Tarot, and this was gifted to me by one of my friends for a Christmas present. She is amazing, or a Yule present, whatever you want to call it. And again, it's an animal deck, you guys. So this is going to be left out. This is often where that deck is right now, and used heavily this year. Look, it's Simba! The Deviant Moon is another that I want to work with heavily in 2018. I have actually spent a lot of time with this deck already, but I didn't get the large coffee table book until the end of the year. I am loving it, you guys. I love hearing Patrick Valenza's process and insight, and I just want to develop my experience of this deck even further and then do a nice juicy review on the book and the deck also. But the artwork brings me so much joy. This was definitely a me kind of art style deck. I love the colours. And last but not least, the Cosmic Mother Tarot, which I have literally just got. So naturally, I want to spend more time getting to know this deck. I did a reading for someone, and instead of doing it for money, I did it for an exchange for this deck, which I was super excited about. It's a unicorn, you guys. Hell to the yeah. And I really want to learn what kind of readings I feel like this deck will provide. So I'm pretty excited about doing that, and I really enjoy the artwork. This one cracks me up with their little dead eyes. Prompt 11 is Oracle decks that I want to work more with in 2018. You guys will be glad to know that there is only 4 this time. First up is the epic Faeries Oracle by Brian Froud. I've worked with this heavily since my friend gifted it to me for my birthday. It's not a lack of using it, it's really just wanting to continue further in my relationship with it, learning more about the Fae, and also getting to a point where I don't always feel called to pick up the book. I did a reading for this one and on my Instagram, and I didn't use the book, but I do feel quite drawn to read it still at the moment, and it would be epic if I could get to a point where I'm doing more of my own thing with it as well, although the book is amazing. This little cutie is the Earthbound Oracle, sister, super friend, whatever you want to call it, to my wooden tarot deck, and I'm vibing with this one. I've just found a way to use it on its own, which gels really well with me, as well as using it with tarot. I find that it reads much better on its own if you pull 3 cards as opposed to 1. And I just want to develop that kind of process with it, as well as using it to complement my wooden tarot exploration. This epic deck is Beasts of Albion. And again, because my friends are amazing, this was a gift. An animal deck gift. Love. There is so much to learn from this book. There is so many different ways to work with this deck, and I did do a kind of flip through / mini review, kind of a beginner's review, and I want to further my experience with this deck and the way that the creators, they structured the potential way to work with it, just to see how that gels with me. I'll use it as a normal daily oracle animal message anyway, but I'm really interested in all of the layers that they've added to this particular deck. and the artwork is just luscious. Last but by no means least, super psyched to get this. This was my Christmas present, and it is the Faeries Oracle by Spirit Speak, or Mary Evans. I got this more on a personal basis, however I have already used it for a couple of people who I felt called to. I find this deck has got a really good balance of shadow, for want of a better term, and that there's a lot of healing capacity with it. It has names like no other deck that I've seen. I'm really freaking enjoying it already. It is so much fun and so powerful. It gave me a really like punch to the heart message the day that I opened it, and since I've pulled the same card 3 times. Oh, there it is. It's always popping up. It does this to me. You can't find goodness because you lost your heart, which is a fantastic reflection of last year. So this deck and me are gonna jam lots this year. Question 12. What started me reading tarot and why did I continue to read? I started reading tarot as a kid, so I guess you would call that play reading. Most people know this anyway, but I was brought up around tarot. My mum had various tarot and oracle decks. She had the medicine cards, the medicine woman, the mythic tarot. They're the 3 that I predominantly remember using. And then naturally she bought me her own as I aged. I have had gaps on and off, especially in my late teens and kind of early 20s, and then returned sort of full-fledged again in my late 20s, and the rest is history. I've continued because I find it very therapeutic, cathartic. I feel like it's a reflective tool and that it very much promotes development and self-awareness. That fits with my view on life and my profession outside of tarot, so it brings me a lot of joy, and naturally I freaking adore the artwork. Bit of an art lover. Question 13 is, what was your best, worst and memorable moment for 2018? I'm not sure if they wanted all of these or not. My memory's absolutely shoddy. I've managed to pick one for each. They're just very brief, so I hope that's okay. My best moment that's really sticking in my mind currently is doing a reading for someone who's been practicing way longer than I have, and I have a lot of respect for their practice, and I did a reading for them, and the feedback, honestly, it just filled me with so much joy and gratitude. It really was amazing. That really felt like a blessing this year. My worst moment, I know that I'm laughing. I've got a little bit of a sadistic sense of humour, and you know guys, this is what tarot's for as well. When I got my Wild Unknown deck at the very beginning of this year, literally first week into January, I've used it heavily. Many of you know I had a really turbulent year with my health and emotions. Let's not bore you with the details. You know, if you want to know more, watch another of my videos. But when I was using that deck, I kept pulling the 5 and the 10 of Swords. For those of you who don't know, the 5 of Swords is like a worm cut in half, and the 10 of Swords is some sort of bison or buffalo who is impaled with lots of swords. It's quite a visceral message, and some days I was totally fine with that, but these cards kept coming out the whole year, and naturally they were coming out at times when I was feeling a lot of despair, really low, quite fearful, and it was that reminder that despite trying to shift my mindset, because I didn't have any control over physically what was going on, my mindset was sort of staying okay for a while and flickering back, and I kept getting these goddamn cards, and I was like, leave me alone. I know that that's probably not that bad. Also, ironically, other people pulled me a card from the Wild Unknown decks when this was happening, because I thought maybe I should just let someone else pull a card from me, and several people kept pulling me. I think it's the 5 of Pentacles. It's like a wilted rose that looks like the rose out of Beauty and the Beast, and it's about difficulties with health and things like that. And I was like, okay, so essentially the cards were just legit picking up on all of that. It was difficult sometimes, but useful, and that's actually what I love about the Wild Unknown deck, ironically. Lastly, my most memorable moment was actually I met a new friend, I guess, at the very end of 2016. They were a colleague as well at the time, and as we came into the new year, I had been talking to her about tarot and oracle, and it turned out that she was also quite interested, hadn't come from a background of it, but was really keen on these cards that I was looking at. So we both bought these, a couple of decks together at the same time. And it's ended up, I know it sounds really soppy, I'm pretty sure that we would have been friends anyway. We have a lot in common, but it budded into this amazing relationship. She is now most definitely someone who I would consider a best friend and a human who I value incredibly, and it's really gifted me a friendship. So that weird link to tarot and the discussion about art and things like that that got us to connect has actually had a really long-term positive impact. And the last question for me today is question 14. Share my favourite divination tools aside from tarot. Oh my god, you guys. Why did I find this one so difficult? I like to be very specific, and I was on Google looking up, well, what fits under divination, and thinking, do I even do anything else? It turns out I do. I genuinely got a load of my friends involved from Instagram and said, do you notice if I do any other kinds of forms of divination? What divination do you guys do? And I had a chat with a couple of people, and it turns out that I do bibliomancy, and I didn't know that this had a name. And what that is some days, and I only do it with specific books, I'll get like a poetry book or an animal message book or a quote book, and I will open it at whatever page I feel called to and take that message for the day. I wanted to show you guys this because I know that it's not a divination book, but this still totally works for this, and I do it with this book the most. So literally, what's our message for today? This Pokemon's got guts, my guts are bursting. Oh yeah. I love this book. Some of them are probably easier to take in than others, but I didn't know that that was called bibliomancy, and I do it quite frequently. That's probably my most used divination tool. This year I'm developing further my understanding of essential oils, especially for medicinal uses, and learning further about crystals. But again, I wasn't really sure whether that counted. The other thing that outside of tarot that I do, and because I'm not sure that there's loads of divination to talk about, I figured after talking with a friend, they said, well, you do this, and I said yes, but I don't really think that that's divination per se. However, they said that it was quite unique to my practice. So outside of tarot, I spend a lot of time applying my psychology and therapeutic skills to understanding others and learning about the way that people tick and how we communicate with each other, and also understanding myself as well. And I appreciate that doesn't directly count as divination, but it is something about learning to understand and exploration, and it's a skill that's probably more unique to my practice because it's something that I've studied in particular. I thought that I would chuck that in because that is literally all I could think of, and I'm sure you guys will have this beautiful array of stuff, and I'll either be like, oh, or I may even hear someone be like, damn, I do that. Either way, it doesn't matter. That is my input. If you guys got all the way through this, again, thank you. I know they're kind of running in at about 25 minutes to half hour, but remember, I am doing a whole week in one section. I look forward to seeing you guys. I have been watching as many as possible, even if I don't comment. I am very good at remembering to like people's videos because it's nice. and I will see you guys in a week when I do round 3. Bye-bye.